I've always been interested in sort of in technology and the manipulation of nature to yield some kind of potential energy. These colors come from the petals of an azalea flower, the petal of a golden ragweed flower, dried sugarcane leaves, even like reflections from the water of the sky or just the color of like muddy water. And for me, they represent power and manipulation. And they also kind of go back to some of the ideas from the 20s and 30s with the explosion of transportation.
But most of my designs, when I design outfit, a lot of times, I dream it. And I see it, and I wake up right at that second, and I sketch it on a piece of paper, and I lay back down, and I draw the designs out, and I cut it. I beat to myself, and that's all I do. So. Unless I hear a tambourine and I got to practice somewhere, and I'll stop and say, I'm going in here and practice, I'll be right back. And when I come back, I do the same thing. It takes a lot to be an Indian.
The computer has given me the freedom to make my drawings and paintings move. It has also allowed me to have my images be influenced and changed by what is happening around it. The viewer in the viewing environment control to some degree what is actually seen. The sounds, movement, or light affect what is happening in my programs. Computers and television have changed the way we look at the world and how we relate to each other. From first-person shooters and video games to social networking sites, these interfaces have restructured how we define our identities, bringing us closer and isolating us at the same time. It is this new media language that I use to investigate the changing realm of technological relationships.
Most all my poems or my poetry and my fiction writing or anything it's a meditation on something. So I'm always intellectualizing whatever it is that I'm writing about. I guess right now it's the three big things that I guess most all writers write about: sex, death, love, I don't know, God, those kind of things, the big categories, At some point you get to the point where you just kind of wonder who you are, and it's like, okay, who am I? And so I'm all these different things, and Louisiana is all these different things, and I've lived here my whole life, so it just kind of makes sense.
Hi, my name is Jeffrey Broussard. I'm a native of Opelousas, Louisiana. Back in the days, we were sharecroppers, and my dad only had one accordion, and he had this little deal in the house. It was like a dresser. It was kind of high, and he'd always put his accordion up there, but we'd take our chances. I'd grab me a chair, and I'd steal the accordion off of there and play it and put it back, but he always knew somebody was playing, but he didn't know who, because we were so many. And I could tell about at the age of 15, that's when my dad knew that I could play accordion.
In the past couple of years, I have set 14 works for 6 different Louisiana dance companies. I have also personally performed in many traditional and non-traditional venues with a variety of Louisiana companies, both in dance and theater, and have given residencies and master classes for many of Louisiana's universities, high schools, and elementary schools. I mention this to underline my commitment to the arts in Louisiana. I believe that with regards to the performing arts, we have much to offer, and I am very committed to contributing to the creation of artistic works that stem from Louisiana roots.
Early on, I was really grew up listening to a lot of classical music, and then old soul records, and R&B records, and I kind of switched to that. Got very much into folk music when I was a teenager, from all kinds of folk music, and this is how I ended up in Louisiana ultimately, very early on. And but so now, really, I'm kind of trying to integrate all of those influences together to understand what it really is that they're showing an individual in the world.
After the hurricane, when people came back, it was kind of amazing in my neighborhood because everyone kept going to this park with their dogs on Piety Street. And so everyone was sort of storm-tossed. It was some of the people coming back to the neighborhood that had been there previously, and other people moving into the neighborhood because they couldn't get back into their house, wherever it was. And so we all met in the park, and we all met each other and learned about each other because we had dogs that were chasing each other around the park. And just watching something as simple as that, too, I think can really sort of bring your mind out of the despair that we often feel these days with whatever problems we're dealing with.
The series is called Broken Rainbow, and it's a series of digital prints that are based on documentary photographs of New Orleans in the days after Katrina, combined with excerpts from Michelangelo's frescoes for the Sistine Chapel. And there are also many similarities and different layers of meaning. One of the things I was drawn to was that both are describing tragedy. They are also describing man's ability for caring for his fellow man. And ultimately the message is one of hope, of hopefulness.
I'm a native New Orleans artist who works in photography and sculpture. Ideas of change, or more specifically, loss and regeneration, are primary to my work. I find the need to create order out of the crazy realities around me, such as post-Katrina reconstruction and its inherent chaos, and I make art for personal healing. I witness the land's challenges and tenacity, and with each visit to the park and marshlands, felt more empowered to return to face my own challenges and reconstruction.
As a professional artist, I've chosen to create original theater with a company, Mondo Bizarro. We're a group of artisans that have committed to labor as an ensemble over several years with the goal of establishing a body of work inspired by a particular set of commonly shared aesthetic and civic values. With this team, I endeavor to create vigorous performances that are locally relevant and nationally recognized. I believe that we have a powerful responsibility as theater makers to approach our craft with integrity and boundless fascination. I know that every community has a unique memory of itself and that their stories demand to be heard.
I probably got interested in film when I was a young kid, just making up stories in my backyard. I feel like I got started with storytelling first and then eventually found my way into film. Just kept watching different movies and wanting to eventually make stories into movies. The vision for a story could come from anywhere. Sometimes is just from daydreaming, or maybe someone that I know tells me a story and then I'll run with it and invent all kinds of other possibilities.